Sometimes you think you know someone, and then they show you exactly who they really are. Anyway, make sure to hit that like button if you enjoy my videos, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. I never thought I'd be the type of person to drug someone, but here we are. 4 years with Jacob, and I was convinced he was cheating on me. The signs were all there: working late, being secretive with his phone, acting weird around me. I mean, what else was I supposed to think? We met at some friend's wedding, moved in together, after a year and a half, got our cat Turnip. Everything seemed normal until recently, when he started acting shady as hell. Sure, I had my moments of jealousy, like when he talked to other women too long, or when random girls would follow him on Instagram. But that's normal girlfriend behavior, right? I wasn't being crazy. I was being observant. The thing is, Jacob always acted like he was so transparent, leaving his phone around with the password as my birthday. But lately he'd been more protective of it, and I just knew something was up. I'd been telling my friends for weeks that he was definitely cheating. The late nights, the secretive behavior, the way he'd smile at his phone. My friend Jessica kept telling me to just ask him directly, but what was he going to say? Cheaters lie, that's what they do. Jacob was getting cocky, thinking he could fool me. He'd always been kind of weak-willed anyway, never really standing up for himself, so maybe he thought I was just another pushover he could manipulate. So I came up with a plan. I had leftover sleeping pills from when I had insomnia months ago, and I figured if I could just get him knocked out for a few hours, I could finally see what he was hiding. It wasn't like I was going to hurt him. I researched the dosage and everything. I just needed the truth, and if he wasn't going to give it to me willingly, I'd have to get creative. The plan was simple. Crush up the pills, put them in his beer during our Saturday night out, wait for him to get sleepy, then go through his phone properly. I'd finally have my proof, and then we could deal with whatever I found. I wasn't proud of it, but desperate times call for desperate measures, and I was tired of being made a fool of by some guy who couldn't even grow a proper beard. So I'm at the salon getting my roots touched up, and I'm sitting there with Aaliyah, this new girl who's doing my color. She seems sweet enough, kind of quiet. But I'm in one of those moods where I just need to talk. You know, the whole Jacob situation has been eating at me for weeks, and I guess I just needed to vent to someone who didn't know the whole story. I start telling her about how I think my boyfriend is cheating, how he's been acting suspicious, staying late at work, being weird with his phone. She's nodding along, making sympathetic noises, so I keep going. Before I know it, I'm telling her about my plan for Saturday night. I'm going to put some sleeping pills in his drink. I say, laughing a little because it sounds so crazy when I say it out loud. Just enough to knock him out so I can finally see what he's hiding on his phone. Alia stops what she's doing for a second, and I can see her face in the mirror, looking kind of shocked. Are you serious? She asks, and I'm like, dead serious. I've got it all figured out. He always drinks those IPAs, so he won't taste anything with all those hops. I even ask her if she knows how many pills would be safe to use without actually killing him, because I'm not trying to murder the guy. Just get some answers. She gets really quiet after that, just focuses on my hair. But I keep talking because the whole thing feels kind of exciting and rebellious, like finally I'm taking control of the situation instead of just sitting around wondering and worrying. I tell her how I've been planning this for days, how I'm going to wait until he's out cold and then go through everything. His phone, his laptop, maybe even his work bag. He thinks he's so smart, I say, but I'm smarter. What I didn't know was that Aaliyah was freaking out internally, and the second I left, she went straight to her boss, Tony, with the whole story. Apparently, Tony and Jacob had been friends since high school, and Aaliyah had no idea I was dating his buddy when I was confessing my plans to her. Saturday comes, and I'm buzzing with nervous energy. I spend forever getting ready, trying on different outfits, doing my makeup perfectly. Jacob keeps asking if I'm okay, because I'm acting kind of hyper, but I just tell him I'm excited for our night out. We're supposed to go to this new brewery downtown, and I've been looking forward to it all week. Not for the reasons he thinks, obviously. I've got everything planned out perfectly. Earlier that day, I crushed up 2 of my sleeping pills and put the powder in a little baggie in my purse. I researched it online, and that should be enough to make him drowsy without being dangerous. The brewery has those really hoppy IPAs that Jacob loves, so he definitely won't taste anything weird. My plan is to wait until he goes to the bathroom, slip the powder into his beer, and then suggest we head home early, when he starts getting tired. Simple, foolproof, and by tomorrow morning I'll finally know the truth about what he's been hiding from his pathetic, paranoid girlfriend. But then Jacob starts acting weird when it's time to leave. He says he's not feeling well, that maybe we should just stay in. I'm immediately suspicious because this is exactly the kind of thing a cheater would do. Cancel plans at the last minute so he can sneak around. I try to convince him to go out, but he's being stubborn about it. Finally, I suggest we at least have a beer at home and watch a movie. I go to the kitchen and grab 2 beers from the fridge, and this is my moment. I slip the powder into his beer, making sure it dissolves completely, then bring both bottles back to the living room. I hand him his beer with the biggest smile, trying to act normal, but inside I'm practically vibrating with anticipation. This is it. Finally, I'm going to get my answers. But then Jacob does something weird. He takes the beer, but doesn't drink it right away. He just holds it, and when I ask if he's going to drink it, he says he needs to use the bathroom first. Something about his tone makes me nervous, but I tell myself I'm just being paranoid. Jacob goes upstairs, and I'm sitting there staring at his untouched beer, getting more anxious by the minute. Something feels off, but I can't put my finger on what. Then the doorbell rings, and my heart nearly stops. We're not expecting anyone, and it's almost 8 p.m. on a Saturday. Jacob comes downstairs looking pale, and when he opens the door, there are 2 police officers and a woman in a suit standing there. The woman shows her badge and says, "I'm Detective Coleman. We need to speak with you about some allegations." I'm completely confused, asking what's going on, but then she looks directly at me and says, "We have reason to believe you put a controlled substance in that beer." My world just stops. How could they possibly know Jacob is staring at me with this expression I've never seen before? Not anger, not hurt, but something worse. Disappointment, complete and utter disappointment. The detective explains that they have video evidence of me putting pills in Jacob's drink, and they need to take the beer for testing. Video evidence. What video evidence? That's when Jacob tells me about the cameras he installed in our house. Cameras. In our house. Recording me. "You were recording me," I scream, but he just shakes his head and says, "I was protecting myself." Protecting himself from what? From his girlfriend trying to find out if he's cheating? The whole thing is insane. They arrest me, right there in our living room, reading me my rights, while our neighbors peek out their windows. Jacob just stands there watching them, put handcuffs on me, not saying a word, not defending me, not telling them it's all a misunderstanding, nothing. As they're walking me to the police car, I keep yelling at him, asking how he could do this to me, how he could call the cops on his own girlfriend, but he won't even look at me. The last thing I see before they put me in the car is Jacob standing in our doorway, holding Turnip, looking like a complete stranger. Sitting in that jail cell, I had a lot of time to think, and the more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Jacob had set me up. He knew about my plan somehow, and instead of talking to me like a normal person, he decided to destroy my entire life. I lost my job at the fitness studio because who wants to employ someone arrested for drugging their boyfriend? I couldn't afford our apartment anymore, so I had to move back in with my parents at 27 years old. Meanwhile, Jacob gets to play the victim, telling everyone how his crazy ex-girlfriend tried to poison him. The worst part was finding out the truth during the legal proceedings. Apparently, Jacob hadn't been cheating at all. He'd been working with some jeweler co-worker, planning to propose to me. All those late nights, all that secretive behavior. He was picking out engagement rings and planning some elaborate proposal. The ring he'd chosen was exactly what I'd pinned on my Pinterest board months ago. 2 carats princess, cut everything I'd ever wanted. But instead of just telling me what he was doing, he let me spiral into paranoia and jealousy until I did something stupid. His lawyer made sure everyone knew about the engagement ring. During my sentencing painting, this picture of the devoted boyfriend who was planning to propose to his psychotic girlfriend who tried to drug him. The judge ate it up, talking about how I'd violated the trust of someone who loved me enough to want to marry me. I got 60 days in county jail, 2 years probation, community service, and mandatory counseling. But the real punishment was watching Jacob move on like I'd never existed. He found a new apartment, kept Turnip, and according to mutual friends, he seemed relieved that I was out of his life. No one wanted to hear my side of the story, that I was just trying to protect myself from being cheated on, that any reasonable person would have been suspicious of his behavior. Look, maybe I shouldn't have drugged him. Fine. But he pushed me to that point with all his sneaking around and lying. If he'd just been upfront about the proposal, none of this would have happened. Instead, he made me look like some crazy person when I was just reacting to his shady behavior. 18 months later, I'm finally off probation and trying to rebuild my life. I've got a new job, a tiny studio apartment, and I'm done with the court-mandated therapy. I keep telling myself that I'm better off without Jacob, that he was manipulative and controlling, setting up cameras in our house like some kind of psychopath. What kind of person does that to someone they claim to love? But then Jessica sends me a Facebook screenshot that makes me want to throw my phone across the room. Jacob is engaged to some girl named Sarah who works as a nurse. She's pretty in that natural no makeup way that guys seem to love, and in the photo, she's wearing my ring, the exact ring he picked out for me, the one I saw in the police evidence photos. They're standing in front of some mountain backdrop, both of them, grinning like idiots, and the caption says something about finding his person and grateful for second chances. The comments are full of people congratulating them, saying how happy Jacob looks, how he deserves this after everything he went through. Everything he went through. I'm the one who went to jail. I'm the one whose life got destroyed. I'm the one who lost everything while he got to play victim and find someone new. But the worst part comes a few days later when I run into his brother Brooks at the grocery store. He sees me and actually has the nerve to come over and talk to me. Amber, he says, I heard you're doing better. I just nod, not trusting myself to speak, but then he keeps going. Jacob's getting married next month. Sarah's really good for him. She trusts him. Doesn't need to go through his phone or anything. The implication is clear. I was the problem. I was the crazy, paranoid girlfriend who couldn't trust her man, and now he's found someone who can. Someone better. Someone who doesn't need to drug him to feel secure in the relationship. I want to scream at Brooks to tell him that Jacob was acting suspicious, that anyone would have been paranoid in my situation. But what's the point? Everyone's already decided I'm the bad guy in this story. So I just smile and say, that's nice. I hope they're happy together. But inside, I'm dying. Because the truth is, I still love Jacob. I still think about him every day, still wonder what would have happened if I'd just asked him directly instead of going with my plan. But it's too late now. He's moved on, found someone who apparently doesn't have trust issues, and I'm still here alone, paying for one stupid mistake for the rest of my life. The really messed up part, I can admit that what I did was wrong, but Jacob isn't innocent in all this. He created the situation that made me feel like I had no choice. His secretive behavior, his lies about working late, the way he suddenly became protective of his phone. What was I supposed to think? Any woman would have been suspicious. But nobody wants to hear that side of it. They just want to paint me as the crazy ex who tried to poison her boyfriend, while he gets to ride off into the sunset with his perfect new fiancé and my engagement ring.